Hidden deep in a remote corner of the world lies a prison so savage it defies belief. Walls stained with blood, screams echoing through rusted corridors, and a daily battle for survival. This isn't just a prison, it's a nightmare come to life. Built decades ago with iron and indifference, this facility has earned the terrifying title of the most brutal prison on Earth. But what truly happens behind those locked gates? Brace yourself, because inside these walls, there's no mercy. In a forgotten corner of the world stands a prison so feared, its name alone sends shivers down the spines of even the most hardened criminals. This isn't just any prison, it's a place where violence rules, humanity is stripped away, and survival becomes the only law. Known globally for its horrifying conditions and savage reputation, this prison has become a symbol of everything that can go wrong when punishment replaces rehabilitation and cruelty is institutionalized. This notorious prison is located in a remote and politically unstable region, far from the eyes of human rights organizations or international media. Built decades ago during a time of civil unrest, the prison was originally intended to house a few hundred inmates. Today, it holds several thousand, many of whom haven't even been formally charged or tried. Overcrowding is just the beginning of the nightmare. Covering several acres of desolate land, the prison resembles more of a fortress than a correctional facility. Its towering stone walls are topped with rusted barbed wire. Armed guards patrol the perimeter day and night, but inside, control is a mere illusion. Most of the prison is run not by the wardens, but by powerful inmate gangs who enforce their own brutal form of justice. Within these walls, respect is earned through blood, and weakness is a death sentence. The history of this prison is soaked in violence. It was established during a dictatorship, built not for justice, but for fear and control. Political dissidents, journalists, and even innocent citizens once found themselves locked inside its dark cells, silenced by a regime that thrived on oppression. Over time, the prison evolved, or rather, devolved, into a dumping ground for the country's most dangerous individuals. Murderers, drug lords, and war criminals are forced to coexist in the same crumbling, rat-infested halls. Conditions inside are beyond inhumane. Food is scarce and often spoiled. Clean water is a luxury few enjoy. Medical care is virtually non-existent, and diseases spread rapidly in the filthy, overcrowded cells. Violence is an everyday occurrence. Stabbings, beatings, and even murders happen so often they're no longer shocking. Many inmates sleep on concrete floors or in shifts because there simply isn't enough space. So, what gives this prison its reputation as the most brutal on earth? It's not just the conditions, though they're horrific. It's not only the violence, although it's relentless. It's the complete breakdown of any form of justice or humanity. Inmates are often left for years without trial. Bribery, torture, and corruption are the norm. Guards turn a blind eye to murder in exchange for money or favors. Some are even complicit in organized killings. For those inside, there is no rehabilitation, no second chance, no mercy. Despite international outcry and documented human rights violations, very little has been done to shut it down or improve conditions. Fear, politics, and a lack of accountability have allowed the prison to remain a black hole of suffering. Few who enter ever come out the same, if they come out at all. As we dive deeper into this horrifying world, we'll explore what daily life is truly like inside this modern-day hell. We'll hear the stories of inmates and guards, expose the corruption that fuels the system, and ask the difficult question: how could a place like this still exist in the 21st century? Welcome to the most brutal prison on earth, where survival is a privilege and humanity is a forgotten concept. Stepping inside the prison is like entering another world, a world completely detached from law, order, or even basic decency. This is not a place built for rehabilitation or justice. It is a warehouse of suffering, crammed beyond capacity, with men who live each day wondering if it will be their last. The first thing that hits you is the overcrowding. Originally designed to hold perhaps 500 inmates, the prison now holds over 5,000. Cells built for two often contain 10 or more men, packed together like cattle in sweltering heat. There's no space, no privacy, and certainly no rest. In many blocks, prisoners sleep in shifts or on the floor, curled under staircases, or even inside bathrooms, anywhere they can find a few inches to stretch out their bodies. For some, a concrete floor is the only bed they've known for years. This extreme overcrowding breeds more than just discomfort. It creates a perfect storm for disease. The prison is a breeding ground for illness. Tuberculosis, skin infections, and gastrointestinal diseases run rampant. With no clean water and barely any sanitation, hygiene is nearly impossible. Toilets overflow, showers rarely work. Rats and insects roam freely, sharing the same space with human beings. There's no soap, no disinfectant, and no medical care for those who get sick. Inmates often have to treat wounds themselves using dirty rags or makeshift tools. The lack of basic human rights is staggering. Food is scarce and unfit for human consumption. Inmates receive 1 or 2 small meals a day, often moldy or infested with insects. If you don't have money or connections, you go hungry. Medicine, clothing, even clean drinking water, all are privileges, not rights. You buy them through bribes or connections, or you go without. In many ways, the prison operates like a cruel marketplace. Everything has a price, and those without resources are left to suffer. In this kind of environment, a brutal code of survival takes hold. The strong prey on the weak. Every corner of the prison is controlled by gangs, warlords, or influential prisoners who enforce their own twisted rules. New inmates are often forced to join a group or face violence, or worse. Rape, beatings, and extortion are common. Those without protection or a gang affiliation often become property of stronger inmates, used, abused, and discarded. Violence isn't just a threat, it's routine. Disputes over food, space, or power frequently end in bloodshed. Knives, shivs, and improvised weapons are everywhere. Fights break out daily. Murders happen in the open, and guards rarely intervene unless bribed or directly threatened. In some wings, the guards don't even enter. Entire sections are left to self-rule under gang leadership. This environment fosters a survival of the fittest mentality that strips away any remnants of humanity. Compassion is seen as weakness. Trust is dangerous. Empathy is a luxury no one can afford. To survive here, you must harden your heart and sharpen your instincts. Every decision, from where to sit to who to talk to, can be a matter of life or death. What's perhaps most tragic is that many of these inmates haven't even been convicted. Some have been waiting for trials for years, caught in a broken justice system that has forgotten them. Others committed minor crimes, but were thrown into the same pit as murderers and gang leaders. Inside these walls, there's no rehabilitation, no opportunity for redemption, only endless punishment, suffering, and fear. This is life inside the world's most brutal prison. Not a place of reform, but a place where the only law is survival, and mercy has no meaning. In most prisons, guards are tasked with maintaining order, ensuring safety, and upholding some sense of justice. But in this prison, the most brutal on earth, the guards have become part of the nightmare. Instead of peacekeepers, they are predators. Instead of protectors, they are enforcers of fear. From the moment a prisoner enters the gates, they are greeted not by rules or rights, but by intimidation. Beatings, humiliation, and verbal abuse are part of the daily routine. Guards often carry out random acts of violence just to remind inmates who's in charge. A missed command, a wrong look, or simply being in the wrong place at the wrong time can result in a beating, or worse. In some cases, the abuse is not random, but calculated. Guards use violence as a tool to assert dominance, to punish those who question authority, and to entertain their own cruelty. Inmates have been whipped, electrocuted, and even left in solitary confinement for weeks without food or light. There are no investigations, no accountability, just silence and suffering. But the brutality is only one side of the coin. The other is corruption, deep, systemic, and all-consuming. In this prison, Everything has a price. Guards take bribes to smuggle in weapons, drugs, food, and even mobile phones. Inmates with money can buy protection, better living conditions, or early release. Those without money are left at the mercy of the system, or worse, sold out to rival gangs for profit. Corruption isn't hidden, it is the system. Higher ranking officers often run entire black markets within the prison walls. Gangs work with guards to control sections of the prison, collect taxes from inmates, and eliminate rivals. It's a business, and business is brutal. Violence is used not just by inmates, but by the institution itself to maintain control. Public beatings are common. Torture is used as a method of interrogation or punishment. And sometimes, guards intentionally allow fights or riots to happen so they can step in and restore order with even more violence. It's a vicious cycle of fear and domination. The line between criminal and authority becomes completely blurred. Inmates may be murderers, but the guards are no better. Both operate under the same lawless code, one that rewards power, punishes weakness, and feeds off corruption. In this prison, justice has no place. The guards, meant to uphold the law, have become just another force of chaos. For the prisoners, there is no safety, no fairness, and no hope. The people who should be keeping them alive are often the same ones pushing them closer to death. This is not just a failure of one prison, but of an entire system built on violence, silence, and greed. Behind every cell door in the world's most brutal prison lies a story, some tragic, some horrifying, and others simply heartbreaking. The inmates here are more than just criminals. They are survivors of a system that has chewed them up and left them to rot. Each story reveals a deeper layer of the cruelty that defines this prison. Take Raphael, for example. He was 19 when he was arrested for stealing a motorcycle, his first offense. He was sent to the prison to await trial. That was 7 years ago. He's still waiting. In that time, he's been stabbed twice, lost 2 fingers in a fight, and joined a gang just to stay alive. "I came here a kid," he says. "Now, I don't know who I am anymore." Then there's Tariq, convicted of murder. But Tariq's story is more complex. His crime was committed in self-defense, defending his family from a gang attack in his village. The court didn't listen. Now he's locked away with professional killers and drug lords, where justice has no meaning. "In here," he says, "you either become a monster or get eaten by one." For Miguel, the nightmare began with a false accusation. Caught in a corrupt system, he was imprisoned for drug trafficking based on planted evidence. His cries of innocence were ignored. Inside the prison, he was raped within days of arrival. "You can scream all you want," he says, "but no one's listening." Their stories may differ, but their struggles are the same. Every day is a battle, fighting for food, for space, for protection. Alliances aren't optional, they're essential. Gangs serve as makeshift families, offering safety in numbers. But loyalty comes with a price. New recruits are often forced to commit violent acts to prove themselves, sometimes even kill. Trust is rare. Betrayal is common. Many inmates form tight circles, sharing what little they have, watching each other's backs. But even friendships are tested when survival is on the line. One inmate described how he had to turn on his own cellmate after he was ordered to by gang leaders. "If I didn't do it," he said, "they'd come for me next." Violence shapes every aspect of life. Inmates carry homemade weapons, sharpened toothbrushes, broken glass, or metal rods, because anything less is a death sentence. Fights erupt without warning. Disrespect can get you killed. Even asking the wrong question can make you a target. These stories paint a bleak picture, but they are real. They reflect a prison system that has failed at every level, a place where petty thieves become killers, where the innocent are punished harder than the guilty, and where life is reduced to a constant state of fear and desperation. Yet even in this darkness, a few still cling to hope. Hope for release, for justice, or simply to make it one more day. In the world's most brutal prison, that hope is the only thing they can't afford to lose. As the horrors of the world's most brutal prison continue to leak into the global spotlight, international reaction has been a mix of outrage, condemnation, and helplessness. Human rights organizations have long raised alarms, calling the prison a humanitarian disaster zone and a black hole of justice. Reports of torture, unlawful detention, inhumane conditions, and extrajudicial killings have triggered urgent appeals from watchdog groups and humanitarian agencies around the world. Organizations like Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch have published detailed investigations, including testimonies from former inmates, leaked footage, and satellite images revealing the overcrowded and deteriorating infrastructure. The United Nations has also weighed in, branding the prison a violation of international human rights law. In one particularly damning statement, a UN Special Rapporteur described it as a state-sponsored chamber of suffering. Despite global awareness, however, meaningful reform remains frustratingly absent. Governments responsible for the prison often dismiss foreign criticism as political interference. They claim that the prison houses the country's most dangerous criminals, and that harsh conditions are necessary to maintain order. In reality, these excuses mask a deep-rooted culture of corruption, neglect, and impunity. Some attempts at reform have been announced, committees formed, promises made, and inspections planned, but most of these efforts are symbolic at best. When change does come, it's usually temporary and superficial. A new coat of paint, a reshuffling of prison staff, or a tightly controlled media visit that hides the truth rather than confronts it. Whistleblowers are silenced, journalists are restricted, and NGOs often find their access denied or severely limited. The lack of action has broader implications. It raises urgent questions about the global justice system and the responsibility of the international community. How can such a place continue to exist in a world governed by laws, treaties, and institutions meant to protect human rights? And what does it say about justice when an inmate can rot in a cell for years without trial while the world watches in silence? The prison has become more than just a building. It is a symbol of a system that prioritizes control over compassion, punishment over rehabilitation, and fear over fairness. It reflects a disturbing global trend where prisons in many parts of the world are becoming warehouses for the poor, the voiceless, and the forgotten. But hope is not lost. Continued international pressure, awareness campaigns, and the courage of survivors and whistleblowers have begun to force conversations. Some local activists are risking everything to demand change. Their voices, though often drowned out, are slowly growing louder. In the end, the fight against such cruelty is not just about improving one prison, it's about defending the very idea of human dignity. Because when one place is allowed to operate without mercy or accountability, it threatens the values of justice and humanity everywhere.